Hey everyone, welcome back. So today's Wednesday. We're going to take a look at obviously Bitcoin. It wasn't a good day for Bitcoin. It wasn't a good day for the miners either. So we're going to take a look at those. So we're going to look at all the miners that we cover here. As you know, I got to get rid of Stronghold. We got rid of that one, and we also got rid of Luxfoil, which is on there. So I'll get rid of that one on the list here. And we also have to take a look at Hot 8 200 million ATM offering today. They came out the news on that, so we'll take a look at it. We'll also take a look at Hive Q1 financial results. So their year ends in basically at the end of March. So now it's Q1 for them. So we'll take a look at that. We'll also take a look at the slide really quick that they have on for the presentation. And that's it. Markets were down today as well. And as always, not financial advice. You guys know the drill here. I'm investing in the following coins and companies for full disclosure. And let's get into the markets here, and then we'll get into the other things as well. So markets were down today. S&P was down 0.72%. Dow Jones was down 0.45%. And NASDAQ was down 1.25%. And let's get into Bitcoin here. So Bitcoin was, excuse me, it's actually up right now, but it was actually down quite a bit on the day here. Let's go look at the daily chart. We were down, let's see here, we're down 2.17% on Bitcoin. We had a low of 23,180 and a high of 24,448 roughly. So we've obviously had 5 red days in a row. RSI has come pretty well, it's in the middle range right now. I wouldn't say it came down pretty far, but we have obviously come pretty far down as far as the daily RSI has come. And we're still looking positive here on, if we look at the RSI values here, last bottom here was around here, which was around 22,614. We are now at obviously 23,505. So that is still a nice increase from that. So I think we're still looking a little bullish in the daily chart. The 1 hour chart, on the other hand, is looking a little bearish. If we look at it here, RSI has obviously popped up a little bit to 45. We were toying with the, right around the oversold territory around 30. But we have come up here in the last couple of hours, and we're at 44, almost 45 or so. And last time we were at that range, we were up here, and the price was up much higher, 23,829. So about a $320 some odd dollar difference, $330 difference in that. So that leads me to believe that we may obviously fall down a little bit more. The other thing is that obviously we were battling with our support here at 23,800. We fell below it, and we're kind of staying below it right now, which makes me think that we're going to possibly fall a little bit more before everything is said and done. If we look at the 200 weekly moving average, we're still right between the middle points between our support here, or resistance now, again, and our support, which is that 200 weekly moving average. So we have to keep an eye on that one. Let's take that one off, and let's take a look at the daily lines here. And the daily lines are, trying to see here, we still obviously have crossed on the 50 and the 20 day, and we're holding steady there. So we'll see if that can hold up actually, and if we can continue going up. But I think we may fall down a little bit more before that is said and done. That's kind of my thinking on it. We'll see if that actually happens. Ethereum is at 1,859 right now. It has also came pretty, let's take a look at the daily chart here on it. On the day, we've obviously had 4 days in a row where we were in the red. We did hit a low of 1,915. We had a high of 1,957, and we were down basically 2.24% on the day. So it's following Bitcoin suit a little bit. I think we need a little bit breather. We've seen this before here, where we came down a little bit and then we went back up. So we may be repeating that pattern again. And we'll obviously have to see if that happens for today as well, or if we actually start going back up. But that's kind of like the pattern that we've seen here is we've gone pretty nicely up. We have a couple of days where we pull back down, and then that leaves us a little bit more room to run up. I mean, you can see it here. Bitcoin or Ethereum price was at 1,588, and RSI was about 70. We're at RSI of 60 right now, and the price of Ethereum is at 1,857 right now. So still looking pretty good on the daily chart right now. I think we still have more room to run up. Don't know how much higher, but we'll obviously see how things progress going forward. Taking a look at the miners, see how they did today. Annie was down basically 8.75% today to 76 cents. Argo was almost basically flat on the day, 0.07% up, so at 58 cents. Bit Digital was down 5.98% to $1.73. Bitfarms was down 9.5% today to $1.81. CleanSpark was down 8.78% to $5.09. Cores was down 2.69% to $2.89. DigiHost was down to 4.4% 4.51% to $1.27. DMG was down 7.72% to 28 cents. Greenwich was down 3.72% to $3.62. Hive was down 7.73% to $6.21. Hut was down 10.2% to $2.89. Iris Energy was down 8.28% to $5.32. Luxfolio was down 10.89 to basically 9 cents. Marathon was down 8.47% to $15.45. Mawson was down 7.1% to 87 cents. Rye was down 8.94% to $8.35. And Stronghold was down 25% on the day. Obviously not good news for them yesterday, especially with, being basically getting rid of most of their miners because of the loan agreement that they had. So it's basically they defaulted on the loan and they had to give up all of their miners, or 22,000 something of their miners. So that's why we're not covering them going forward. So I'll still keep an eye on them and see what's going on here as far as stock price, but we won't talk about it any further than that. All right, let's take a look at a couple of stories that we have here. Hut 8, obviously, is launching at the market equity program. So there's actually two stories in here in this one article. One is about the new ATM program and something about the old ATM program as well. So we'll just get into it here really quick. So pursuant to the ATM program, the company may, at its discretion and from time to time during the term of the ATM agreement, sell through the agent such number of common shares of the company as would result in aggregate gross proceeds of the company of up to $200 million. So that's a lot. It also depends, obviously, on when they sell it and what the stock price is on that, depending on how diluted we get. Sales of common shares, if any, through the agents will be made through at-the-market issuance, including without limitation sales made directly on the NASDAQ stock market in the United States at the market price prevailing at the time of each sale. No common shares will be offered or sold under the ATM program on the Toronto Stock Exchange or any other marketplaces in Canada. So it's just obviously affecting the shares on the NASDAQ. The company intends to use the net proceeds of the ATM program, if any, principally for general corporate purposes, including funding ongoing operations and or working capital requirements. The net proceeds of the ATM program may also be used to repay indebtedness outstanding from time to time, discretionary capital programs, and potential acquisitions. So that's kind of interesting if they do that. Since the common shares will be distributed at the market price prevailing at the time of the sale, prices may vary between purchasers and during the period of distribution. The volume and timing of the sales, if any, will be determined at the sole discretion of the company in accordance with the terms of the ATM agreement. So like I said, it's basically whenever they need the cash, depending on what the stock price is at that time, that's when it gets basically striked. And we'll obviously know about it when they report it. But it's still a lot, $200 million there. They're sitting on quite a bit of BTC HODL. Maybe they could have used that instead. That's just kind of my thinking on it. Let me know what you guys think of that. So prior to commencing the ATM program, the company terminated the at-the-market offering agreement between the company and H.C. Wainwright and Company, related to its previous at-the-market offering of common shares for aggregate proceeds of up to $65 million, which was launched on February 1st or February 11th, 2022. So that's actually a good thing. They got rid of one ATM program and they basically jumbo-sized this current ATM program to $200 million instead of $65 million. So at least they don't have two of those programs going at it at the same time. So there would have been $265 million, which would have been bad. But at least now it's $200 million, and then we'll just have to see as far as when they actually start using the ATM, whether it's at the current stock price levels, which would obviously dilute more shares at the current cost. But as price possibly goes up, it would dilute less. So we'll have to see. All right. So that is it for Hut. Hut's on a dilution path here, looks like, which is unfortunate. And let's take a look at Hive, and let me know what you guys think of Hut 8, diluting some more shares to fund their operations in the comments down below. Hive announces quarterly revenue of $44.2 million, up 13% from the same quarter last year, and earnings for our first quarter ended June 30th. So I'm not going to get into anything here. I looked over this pretty in depth. I didn't see anything that was newsworthy other than what we can actually look at my spreadsheet and go over it in there. We'll talk about it. And yeah, there was just nothing really here. We can kind of go over the Q1 quarterly highlights. So they generated revenue from digital currency mining of $44.2 million with gross mining margin of $27 million, which is pretty good. Mined 1,338 Bitcoin equivalent. So that includes obviously what they mine in Ethereum and then sell it to basically get an equivalent, Bitcoin equivalent. Compromise of 851 BTC and over 7,675 Ethereum during the 3-month period ended June 30th. Adjusted EBITDA was 11.2 million. Non-cash charges of 118 million.7, including impairment on equipment and equipment deposits totaling 11 million as well. And then net loss after non-cash charges and market-to-market adjustments is 95.3 million for the period. Working capital decreased by 112.4 million during the 3-month period ended June 30th. And the decrease was partially attributed to the sale of digital currencies during the quarter to fund our expansion and to market adjustments on the closing HODL balances on the digital currencies held. So revaluation of digital currencies. And then you got digital currencies assets of 71.4 million as of June 30th, 2022. So just a quick overcap there. Let's take a look at the numbers that I have for them. Or actually, maybe we'll just take a look at the investor slides and we'll take a look at the numbers there for it. So this was provided to us today. Let's see if we can make this a little bit bigger for you guys so you guys can see. Looking over the slides here, this is on slide 18. There isn't really anything too shocking here in the previous slides here. The only thing that I noticed when I was looking at it was obviously on slide 18. This is kind of going over the differences between Q1 of 2022 and Q1 forward 2023. But on this slide here, I think they made a mistake, and it's an easy mistake to make. It looks like they provided the Hive numbers here from April, May, June, but then they got these numbers reversed for Argo, Bitfarms, CleanSpark, Course, Hotmara, and Riot. As you can see here, their numbers are total hash rate is going down from April to June, which should have been the opposite. So I think they just got the numbers mixed up on it. Not a big deal, but it obviously does show I think, wrong data possibly. So I think they should probably fix this for the next time. But otherwise, it's not a big deal. I just wanted to point this out to you guys, something that I noticed, and hopefully they can get this fixed for the following presentations that they do, because you got, Bitfarms going from 3,600 petahash down to 3,300 in June, which doesn't make sense. It should have been the other way. They should have been at 3,300 in April, 3,400 in May, and 3,600 in June. And the same goes for the rest of these guys. Course was not at 10.3 exahash in April. They were that in June. And obviously May was 9.2 and April was 8.9 exahash. So they just got the numbers mixed up here. It would not have affected things very much. BTC per petahash would have probably obviously been a little bit different here for some of the miners. Like Course would have been 126 or closer to Hive. Hive obviously mines as well with Ethereum. And full disclosure, I'm invested in Hive as well. So I just wanted to point that out. But it wouldn't have made much of a difference, as like I said, because Hive also has Ethereum miners that they're using to get to a BTC equivalent amount that they're producing with Bitcoin and Ethereum as well. So that obviously helps their efficiency as well. Okay, so let's take a look at the numbers here I have for them, and we'll get into some of the other things as well, which isn't much. We'll just take a look at the numbers. Oh, while we start off, I had them at, for the first quarter for them, at 40.5 million roughly for the revenue. They came in at 44.178. I was off by 8.16%, which I'm kind of seeing a pattern here develop that I'm kind of off by 8 to 9% on the miners. And I'm, like I said before in my previous videos, I believe it is basically because of the Bitcoin price coming back down in price. I'm using the end of the month price, and they're using the daily price, which obviously you get a higher price of Bitcoin in the beginning of the month than you do at the end of the month, especially when Bitcoin is going down, and that's why I'm off. So I'm trying to figure out a way to do this, whether it's through an average, getting the data for each daily ending price, and then getting an average for that, see if that gets us a little bit closer. So that's something I'm just playing around with right now, but we'll see. All right, let's take a look at the numbers here, and we'll get into some of the ratios here in a minute. So assets in Q2 was cash and cash equivalents was 4 million compared to 5, so that's a little bit of a decrease there. Investments was down also to 7.9 compared to 17. Digital currency was down about 100 million roughly, from 170 million to 71 million. So total current assets decreased to 90.9 million compared to 200 million. So that's a big decrease there, but we're seeing that pretty much across the board here with all the miners reevaluating their assets, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever they might have. So that's okay. Total assets did decrease to 319 million from 452 million. So we're looking at, what is that? 123 million roughly decrease in that. Biggest one looks like was deposits for assets, and right of use asset as well was down just $1 million. So those are the biggest ones here. Along with property and equipment was down to 171 million compared to 177 million. Okay. Liabilities and stockholder equity. Liabilities did increase a little bit to 29.2 million from 26.1 million. Biggest one there was based on, let's see here, accounts payable and accrued liabilities jumped to 16 million from 12 million. So a little bit of an increase there. Total liabilities is at 59 million, so that's a good thing, from 63 million. So it looks like they paid down some things here. Convertible loan, derivative component was under 615,000 compared to almost 5 million here. So that's a decrease. We also had loans payable went down to 13 million from 4.4. And lease liabilities went down to 9.3 from 10.4 as well. And deferred tax liabilities stayed the same. And total stockholder equity was at 259 million compared to 389. So that's a decrease, along with total liabilities and stockholder equity was down to 319 from 452 million as well. All right, now let's take a look at the revenue side here. So revenue was at 44.178 million. That's obviously a decrease from 49.78 million. The only good thing is the operating and maintenance costs were almost down. What is that? Almost 8,000, almost 8 million, almost 9 million down. So I'm surprised that they had such high operating costs and maintenance costs in Q1, which would have been their Q4. And Q1 for them obviously came in a lot better. So that's good. We also had depreciation and amortization went down to 25 compared to 35. So that's good. So all in all, we had a positive 1.2 million compared to a negative 12.6 million here from revenue. And let's see what else we have here. Revaluation of digital currencies. Obviously, that was down 72 million compared to 1 million in Q4 for them. What else do we have here? Share-based general administration also went down to 3.3 from 3, so $1 million. So that's good there. Foreign exchange gain loss. So they actually had a loss there of 3.6 compared to a gain of 6.3 here. So that wasn't too good there. What else? Unrealized loss on investments. They went down a little bit. Change in fair value of derivatives was down. Impairment on minor equipment was down as well. Impairment of equipment deposits was up from the previous quarter. And net loss on net loss or gain income from the period. They had a net loss of 26 million in Q4, and Q1 they had 95 million right now, which obviously wasn't good. But that is basically because they put in a bunch of stuff in there to reevaluate things. Gross profit, it looks like, was 139. What is that calculating? Revenue minus current cost. So that's revenues minus cost of revenue. And that is cost of revenue is that one. So that should have been probably a negative, I would think. 44 million. Why am I adding those? Minus. Oh, it should have been plus. See, even I can make mistakes. So keep an eye on my numbers here. And if they don't match up, let me know. Let's see if that's correct as well. That should have been, there we go. I think that's correct. Let me know if that's correct. I think that's correct now. Gross profit should have been negative 315% roughly, I think. And here, I believe. Because yeah, they're negative here. That should have been negative along with this one. So I'll have to correct that as well. But gross profit minus depreciation, you're looking at 61 million, so 61% roughly. And prior quarter was 45%, which matches up with what they had here. So I just got to look at these numbers here, see what's going on there. And they had a loss here, so a net loss of 107 million compared to 26 million in the prior quarter. And net income per share was down to negative $1.16 for basic and diluted, and then prior quarter was down 36 cents for basic and 34 for diluted. All right, so that's all the data there. And then if we look at it here, so BTC mine was 1,338. I had a 0.3. That's obviously a nice increase from there. Starting hash rate was at 2 petahash. They got up to 2.24, which would have been, actually this should have been increased. That's actually wrong. I just noticed something. I didn't include their, let's see, that would have been March. March would have been, or actually March, and the March they were at 2,000, 3,300. There we go. So 29 and roughly 29 and 330. That's what it should have been. Let's see. This is what happens when you're doing stuff late. So it was 29, Control Z, 2,900 to 3,300. And then that would have been, no, what is it, 2,900 and 3,300. This should have been 3,300. And the ending was in June. Combined total got 3,200 for some reason. It went down. Probably because of Ethereum being combined into it. It came out to be 3,200. Okay. And that's the weird thing, is they're using the Bitcoin equivalent with Ethereum, and the numbers get adjusted based on what they actually made in revenue from both, combining it, and then what the equivalent would have been. So that's kind of what it came in at. So basically, they still improved as far as BTC mined per exahash. We had them at 411 here in Q2, compared to Q1 was 401. Cost to mine 1 BTC minus depreciation. So this was negative 71,000, basically. If I'm doing this correct, negative 71 million per BTC. Maybe that's what it is. And then here was negative 21 million. But here is cost to mine 1 BTC minus depreciation. So this is just looking at the actual cost. So that is, let me point that out to you guys here. So that's looking at the numbers here. So we're looking at the operating costs minus, subtracted from the revenues here. So that's where we're getting that. So that was 12.8. It was 21 million from there in Q1 or Q4. This is Q1. And so that's obviously good. We want to see that number go down, basically. The lower the better, obviously it is. And then debt to equity, we're looking at here from Q4. I should change this to just Q4 because I'm going to keep saying Q1. Q4 2022, and this is Q1 2023. There we go. So that did increase a little bit, debt to equity. So that's basically, we're taking the amount of debt, dividing by equity, and we're getting a ratio on that. And it's 1.6 in Q4, and Q1 now is 2.2. So a little bit of an increase there. Current ratio, as far as that's looking at their current, let me see here. What did I put down here? Current assets divided by current debt. Higher is better on here. So we're looking at the current assets divided by current debt, how many times they can basically pay it over. So in Q4, they could pay it over 7 times over. Now it's down to 3, but they still are obviously positive on it. So that's a good sign. If we get below 1, then we start worrying a little bit about that. And that's it. So overall, not a bad quarter. Obviously, a lot of the miners now are putting in a lot of stuff in here to basically write it off, be on the books, and be done with it, and then hoping that going forward, all of their quarters will be, positive, possibly with having these things taken out. So we've added the current quarter results here, Q4 or Q1, into our numbers here. So we're looking at 162 million for the last 3 quarters. We're looking at about maybe 32 million right now in the third quarter. That can obviously change based on Ethereum, where Ethereum goes, since they're mining that as well, and along with Bitcoin. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get to maybe closer to 40 even, but it all depends on that. So we're looking at a total of 194 million right now. So Q2 is going to be fluid. It's going to change with August and September numbers. Those are going to change, so that's still fluid. So as an estimate, we're looking at 194 million right now. 50% net income from gross revenue, looking at 97 million. That would get us a P of 15 to $17.81. They are currently at $7.28. Actually, they're lower than that. They're like $6 and something now. They've come down in price, and I haven't just updated the price here, but still undervalued in that even if we use the 75% net income, they're at 26. So somewhere around there, I think, is a fair value for them right now. And they're all undervalued. All the miners are undervalued right now. So it's going to be interesting to see where Bitcoin ends up going this, once we get into possibly Q3 here, which is at the end of September. Or we're in already Q3 right now, aren't we? Right? January, February, March, April, May, June. Yeah, we're in Q3 right now. So it'll be interesting to see how Bitcoin finishes out in Q3 along with Ethereum. And then how we do in Q4 will probably set the stage for us as far as what's going to happen in the following year. We're still going to be, even at the end of Q4, we're going to be at least, 16 months away from the halving in 2024. So we still have a ways to go. And this period is always going to be the tricky one where we don't know whether we're going to be going up or we're going down. I think we might be kind of floating here in the middle somewhere between the 40s and the 20s that we're at right now until we get closer to the halving event. And I think at that point, we'll start slowly going back up in price and maybe getting to new all-time highs after that. So we'll see. Obviously, we still have a couple miners here to get data on them. I did, let me see here. Miner comparison. So Hive, I forgot to show this to you guys here. So we do have current ratio of 3.12 and debt to equity ratio is at 0.228. They have about 31 million left over if they had to pay off all their debts from total current assets. So that's not a big deal there. The ones that are in red, obviously, are the ones that are of concern for us. They have to get their debt under control a little bit better. But we still have a couple here that haven't reported. And I think we got, I'll have to double check here, but I'm pretty sure some of these still haven't reported. So we still have quite a few that haven't reported. But I'll double check all this here and make sure that that's the case. When they do report, we'll obviously provide that information for you guys. And I was actually quite surprised that Hive actually provided their information so quickly. I was thinking it's going to take them another month, 2-3 months to get the data out, like it did for their end of year results that were just published a couple weeks ago. So congrats to them for getting that done. And hopefully that's a step in the right direction where we get these quarterly results on a more timely basis. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a great, well, it's nighttime now. It's going to be probably 10, 11 o'clock by the time this video goes out. So have a wonderful night or early morning, I guess, if you guys are watching this in the morning. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out. And then spreadsheets available to my Patreon members. Thank you to all those folks over there for their support. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then.